This time on Between the Wheels.
When I was a little kid growing up in Montreal, maybe, I don't know, 6 or 8 years old, Dad had a Dodge van, you know, with the Kragers and the side pipes and the porthole windows. And after buying the van, the whole thing was in bare metal. I was missing a fender in one of the back doors. I didn't have any bumpers. Never sprayed metal flake a day in my life. Wasn't sure how to go about it. Watched a lot of videos. Simplicity is the answer to everything.
Bought it new in 1970.
Those were the best days of our lives, I think.
17 years old when I bought that car.
Ran on the street. I went there, made noise, and went home.
Yeah, that's what it feels like in a 9-second car.
I got it up on jack stands and I cried.
Most people would look at it and say, it's a basket case, you can't fix that.
I mean, we didn't have any safety checks and none of this bullshit now. I mean, everybody just drove a car, you know.
At 40 miles an hour, if you're gonna crash in this thing, you're friggin' dead.
I spent probably 16-hour days. I would end up sleeping in the body shop in a car.
It's gonna be a lot of work, and she said, who cares? It wasn't that we had money falling out of our pockets, and we made the car happen because of the desire to restore the car.
All right, so it's a beautiful day here, and I'm standing beside one of the most impressive vans I think I've ever seen. And with a legend on the show, he's been here with his 68 Chevelle and your Impala, so you've done 2 episodes before. Bruce does amazing work. You do all your work yourself.
Yeah, I try to do everything myself, from all my own engine work, wiring, paint, bodywork, welding, and the van is something a little bit unique because I did a bunch of custom woodworking, cabinet making, stuff that's completely outside the box that I've never done before. So that's the beauty of the van. Yeah, it added more to my skills, I guess.
And then with the Chevelle, you say, you know, if you can't outrun them, you can outshine them. If you can't outshine them, you can outrun them.
Yeah, my philosophy was cheat always wins. If I can't beat them at the car show, then I can outrun them. If I can't beat them at the racetrack, then I can outshine them.
Right.
Yeah.
But this car's not outrunning anything. It's made, you know, to look at. And it's very impressive. It's something you did. Where did you get the idea of doing a van in the first place? Because this is completely different than what you have, you know, in your toolbox of the other cars.
When I was a little kid growing up in Montreal, maybe, I don't know, 6 or 8 years old, Dad had a Dodge van, you know, with the Kragers and the side pipes and the porthole windows. And of course, this was back in the 70s when the van craze was insane. Funny story is, I bought it at the high school that I went to high school at. It was in the auto body class. It was there for about 10 years and all the kids and students were working on it. I made the deal with the van, purchased it, brought it home, had it in my garage here, and my son and his friends were hanging out, and they're looking at the van going, did you buy this van off of Mr. Z that was in the Sir Guy Carleton auto body? And I said, yes, I did. So they started telling me stories about the work, them working on it and stuff like that. It's crazy.
So obviously you did a lot of work. You had to get it down to bare bones. How long did it take you? You know, what are the kind of stages you went through?
After buying the van, the whole thing was in bare metal. I was missing a fender in one of the back doors. I didn't have any bumpers. There was a lot of good points, but there was also some shady work, like some welding that I had to cut out and redo. The roof was all warped and dented and rotted out, so there was a lot of things that I had to address. So one of the challenges of this van was, you know, scouring the internet and searching junkyards and going to all these different junkyards, and it was like a treasure hunt. And the hardest thing to find and put on was this fender, the one on this side. I could not find a fender anywhere in any junkyard that was rust-free, and I could not find an aftermarket one for the 70s because they only made it for the 80s. So I was looking and looking, I was getting depressed, and then I found this van that had a fender that was decent. I was so excited.
Yeah.
So anyway, the fender is actually welded on. It's not bolted on. So this was one of the most challenging things ever, was a fender. Once I had all the rough metal work done and had it all in primer, the first winter, I usually take the winter months off while I was working, and I did all the bodywork and all the paint, and I had it all in paint, and then I got it all running. I ordered the rims and tires, and I had the van running, with the motor that came with it, that was horrible. And then I bought a brand new crate motor, rebuilt the transmission and did all the mechanical stuff. And then me and Sarah, my girlfriend, did all the interior together. She can take most of the credit for the interior. A lot of it were her ideas. She sewed a lot of the bedspread, the curtains, all that kind of stuff.
So, and that's the thing, when you're doing something like this, you did so much work on the outside, but I think you put just as much work on the inside in a lot of ways because you're personalizing it. Maybe talk about some of the personal touches that you've done to make this thing, to set it apart from other vans.
No two vans are the same, right? And trying to make stuff unique. Vans are like boats. Everybody has a name for their boat. So I had to come up with a name for the van because going to all these van shows.
Yeah, so talk about the name because it's pretty unique. Where did you come up with that
Anyway,
name?
I racked my brain all that one summer going to car shows, and then when I put the van away, it was winter time, and I was stuck on the Queensway in traffic. I was thinking, and all of a sudden, boom, Pink Floyd, the song Crazy Diamond. One of my all-time favorite songs. And as I'm listening to the song, bang, it pops into my head. That's the name for the van, Crazy Diamond. So anyway, I went home, told Sarah, I got a name for the van. She's like, oh yeah? I said, yeah, you're gonna love it. So I told her, Crazy Diamond. She's like, holy cow, I love it. So that's how it became Crazy Diamond.
So then obviously when you're doing some of this, you focus on a theme. Your theme is Pink Floyd, obviously, Dark Side of the Moon specifically. So once you found a theme, you were kind of able to work from there.
Yeah, so it all started with the Crazy Diamond idea, and then, you know, working towards changing the interior up, adding some of the Pink Floyd stuff.
That's really cool. Well, I think you did an amazing job here. Maybe talk about some of the other details that you're really proud of here.
So it didn't all happen at once, because I mean, just this winter past, I changed up the interior. I built the cabinet inside. I went from a little 18-inch TV to a 32-inch smart TV. Now I can cast from my phone. We can play videos off of memory sticks and so on. I tried to make it so we had more user-friendly, like I have a spot for the porta potty, our clothes, all that other stuff. In the back of the van, you know, we got a pop-out up. We have lawn chairs, a fold-out table, barbecue. Try to make everything self-contained. So we can jump in this thing and go and camp and go for a week. And speaking of that, you do a lot of different events. You're always doing something every weekend. Another cool part about this is you just don't do this for car shows. You also tow your car, your Chevelle, and you go to racing events. So this is kind of like part of your lifestyle. Maybe talk about that. How does it feel bringing all that stuff to a race event? Yeah, so I basically been doing car shows since I was a teenager. I've always been a car freak. I've always loved drag racing, and I've done all kinds of various things. So after building this van, the thing that I realized is this thing is so universal, so multi-purpose. When I go drag racing, this is the tow hauler. And I tow the Chevelle, I drag race, I sleep in it, camp out overnight, and tow it home. We go to van events, like just specific van events. I went to the Van Nationals in 2018 in Massachusetts. I'm going to one in 2 weeks called Van Fest. So we do van stuff. I go to your average car shows. I go to cruise nights. And not only that, I do just basic camping.
Yeah.
Like we've went for a whole week just in a campground and hung out camping.
Wow.
So yeah, multi-purpose. Go get groceries in it.
Tell us, how do you go from taking like a boring van you bought from shop glass to getting a van like this, like a total showpiece?
Well, so I don't know, I guess when I was restoring it and doing the grunt work, like, you know, the welding and all that other stuff, every night, you know, you go online, you look at van pictures, you try to get all these different ideas. I had it in my head that I wanted it to basically be a 70s, 80s kind of a time capsule thing.
But you didn't know the look. Like, there's no way you would have been like, this is all the detail. Was that in your head before, or were you just coming, like, you were probably developing as you went along?
Well, not exactly. I mean, you know, as you're coming up with ideas, your mind and your brain's always changing, right? So, I mean, when it came to the point of painting it, I had a bunch of different ideas. And then I started watching videos on metal flake. And I watched some videos on this old school lace stuff, which was something they did right out of the 70s or 80s.
So what is this old school lace?
I basically painted this with a black base. I laid this lace out, and that was challenging, trying to find the right lace. Going to Fabricland and all these fabric stores.
So it's actual, like, real lace, like fabric?
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
So basically, once I saw the lace, I said, that's it. And then I brought it home and bought the lace. Ended up taping the lace on, and we had to keep it flat and smooth and make sure that it wasn't going to fly away when we were spraying through it. I misted silver through the lace. I let it dry about a half an hour or so and then peeled the lace off, and it created the pattern. And then what I ended up doing is I put purple metal flake in the first coat of clear, which turned it purple, which I didn't think that it would. Like, I thought it would be like black and silver with purple sparkles.
So it's the clear coat that actually changed the color?
Yeah, so
Really?
the roof has purple metal flake in it, but you can still see the silver with the purple metal flake.
You know what? It's interesting you say that, because whenever the sun goes behind the clouds, as we look at the car, it looks purple, it's got all the colors, but as soon as the sun leaves, it turns black.
Yeah,
it almost looks like what you were talking about.
Exactly.
So that makes a lot of sense.
So the purple effect here was kind of a mistake that wasn't planned, but worked out for the absolute better. So, and then the rest of the metal flake, like I painted this thing in stages. I did the roof first, I did this, I painted the top part, and then I painted the bottom section.
Okay.
So it was all done in stages. So with the metal flake, never sprayed metal flake a day in my life. Wasn't sure how to go about it, watched a lot of videos. I chose this metal flake. It's called Rainbow Micro Metal Flake, which is the smallest of all metal flakes. And it's from House of Colors. It comes in a little can. It looks like grains of salt or sand. Yeah. So basically, I put some in the first coat of clear, not knowing how much to put in. So I thought, well, I'll give it a coat of paint, and if I think I need more, I could add more in the second coat. Yeah. Anyway, I gave it a coat of paint and shined the light on it, and boom, I'm like, wow, that was amazing. So that was the formula I went with. 1 tablespoon for 1 liter of clear.
Okay, and so basically this is one of those less is more type things, because it might feel like you need more, but the smallest amount will make a huge difference here, so you really don't want to overdo it.
Yeah, exactly. So over time, I started, like, I painted the doghouse inside, I painted the dash, I painted a bread box in my house, I painted a helmet, I painted some sunglasses. I was metal flake crazy for a while. Yeah. And I realized the less metal flake you put in the clear, the better effect it has. Yeah. So that's just one thing learning after doing this. Okay, cool. So I guess quantities in this case are really important, because you're doing it in stages. You're not doing it all at once, so you have to mix the proper amount. So you had kind of like, you figured out the amount, so the tablespoon per liter there kind of worked out for you. Yeah. And so how many different layers of paint is it? Because you got your primer and then you went through the other ones, and how many like other stages of paint did you do? So basically, like, if you were to look at this metal flake here, this would have 3 coats of a black base, just like your normal black base coat, clear coat paint job. Yeah. And then there's 4 coats of clear. So the first coat of clear has the metal flake in it, and then there's 3 coats of just regular clear on top.
Okay.
This paint hasn't been wet sanded or polished or anything. This is pretty much...
Really? No kidding?
That's it.
So I was going to ask, because you can't put metal flake in all of them because you would feel the texture. So it's really just one layer of the flake, and then you're just layering to get that smooth. It's kind of like when you're varnishing a table or something and going over.
Exactly. So with the micro metal flake, it's almost like metallic in a paint. It's so fine that it ends up being smooth.
Yeah.
Back in the old day, if you would have saw the bass boats, or they have that giant flake, sometimes they put like 20 coats of clear on it. They sand and sand and sand right down to 400, and then give it another 2 or 3 coats of clear. Prepped from primer, and then just paint over top.
So you're talking like 8 coats of paint here when it's all said and done?
Pretty much. 7 or 8 coats, yeah.
And how much does that go in terms of like, how much would it cost to do something like that?
Oh, I mean, as we know, the price of everything has skyrocketed. I mean, I have more in this than any other vehicle that I've done. More masking tape, more masking paper, because you know you paint one and you got to cover the whole van. So it's hard to put a price on anything. And of course, you know, I have black, I have silver, I have purple metal flake, I have rainbow metal flake. So there's many different factors. Yeah. So you know, you probably easily have $4,000 or $5,000 worth of just paint and primers and masking tape and all that stuff. So yeah.
Okay, so let's say somebody wants to go and do their own van, and they say, hey, I'm going to paint it for the first time. I'm sure you ran into some problems. Do you have anything that you want to pass on to people, like don't do this or do this? Do you have any kind of secrets? Because you clearly had a lot of success here.
Well, I guess the best advice that I could ever give if somebody's wanting to try to do bodywork and paint, or is just be self-confident and make it right at all costs. Like, one of the most important thing of anything that I do is the preparation of the bodywork. Like, when you get it to the point where it's in primer, it has to be perfect. Because if the bodywork is shitty and you paint even the best of paint jobs, it's going to look horrible. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where it's important to have it prepped properly. And the reality is, if you paint something and it does screw up, let it harden, sand it off, and paint it again. And I've done that.
But I think what we got to do next is, I've never actually been in it for a drive. We got to go take it for a drive. And
yeah, most definitely. We can take it for a ride, and we'll go from there. It's probably about 300 horse. It's got aluminum intake, Edelbrock carb, headers. The headers go directly into the side pipes. That's why it's got that nice sound to it. Nice. I didn't want to put a big lumpy cam or anything like this, because top priority of this thing is drivability, reliability. Yeah. I wanted to be able to jump in this thing and just keep putting gas in it and drive to Vancouver and back if I wanted to. That was the plan.
It's supposed to be a more streetable vehicle. You're not going to win any races with this thing.
Exactly. And I tried to put like basically brand new everything, you know, from a fuel pump to the alternator to belts and hoses and all those things, right? And so far it's been, I don't know, 5 years or so. We've been cruising around all over since I did the motor swap and all that. And
what kind of fuel efficiency do you get at like miles per gallon in this thing?
I figured it out. I probably get about 15, 16 miles to the gallon on the highway.
Okay.
I mean, it isn't super great, but...
it's not bad, though. Honestly, my Bronco's not much better. Well, I might get an extra mile, a mile and a half, not much more. So the fact that you're doing an old school carbureted, setup here and still getting that is actually pretty impressive,
Yeah, for sure. And as far as aerodynamics go, we're driving around in a big brick.
Yeah,
you know what I
so
mean? Like
it's true.
With an old school 350, it doesn't have an overdrive transmission or nothing. It's basic old school 350 with a turbo 350 transmission.
Wow.
And
so have you ever thought about putting like a 700 R4 into it, especially since it's a long distance cruiser?
Well, so when I was thinking about the motor thing, I thought of the LS route. I thought of the 700 R4 overdrive transmission, all those things, right?
Yeah.
But my brain always went back to the old 350 crate motor with a carburetor and a turbo 350 transmission. I'm not a fan of a 700 R4.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Mine blew up in my Impala convertible.
Yeah.
Also, many people that tow with them always have issues with them.
Yeah, they've kind of been known to be somewhat glass-like, those things, a lot of breakdowns. So.
Exactly, and the old...
Especially for towing, which is what you're doing a lot. You're towing the Chevelle and the trailer, so you're up there in weight quite a bit. So
Exactly, and here's the other thing, right? Like, some people might spend, $3,000-$4,000 buying a transmission, adapting it to fit your car, or changing the drive shaft, the cross member, all the things that go with it. And you're going to save a few $100s a year on fuel. You know what I mean? It almost doesn't seem worth it, right?
No.
I'd rather stick to the reliability of something, even if I spend more on fuel. So.
And you've always done carbureted, like all your cars are basically carbureted. And you said your secret is just buying a new carburetor and not using junky old ones, and it makes quite a difference.
Absolutely. You hear I repeat this a lot. You hear people like, oh, I hate carburetors. But most of those guys, they've bought a used Holly off their buddy for a couple $100. It's been sitting around for 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
Whenever I build anything, all my vehicles, I always buy a brand new carburetor.
Yeah. There's a reason they put them in cars back in the day. This is a very finicky system. You need the proper proportions are, really important. So if there's gunk on there or like buildup or something, or they're just not working, it's not going to work properly. And that's what happens with a lot of people. And then they're complaining, oh, carburetor's no good. I understand now that you've educated me on it,
Yeah.
Fuel injection, it's a way to go, but it's not the only way to go.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, right? When you have a throttle body or any type of fuel injection, it's usually computer controlled, right?
Yeah. So
when the computer breaks or you have an electrical problem and you're in the middle of nowhere or far from home, try to figure that out, with trying to plug in a scanner or getting somebody to reboot your system or any of that stuff.
Right.
When you have an old school carburetor, you can buy parts, or if this thing breaks and I'm in the middle of nowhere, or I can go into any Napa or AutoZone and probably get parts and fix it and be back on the road,
We did a video with an old Roadrunner, and he said if it breaks down on the side of the road, he can usually fix almost any problem with just a screwdriver half the time. You know what I mean?
That's the same way with this, right? I have a little
right?
I have a little tool bag in the back with a 1/2 inch 9/16 Phillips screwdriver, some vice grips, pair of pliers.
You can't do that with an LS. Fuel injected in a lot of cases.
Right? So
that makes sense. So I think in terms of reliability, it is a lot more reliable because it's simple, and I think simplicity is reliability, not so much technology. Right? It's almost like technology, it's become so important for everything running so well, but what if it doesn't work? What if it breaks down, right? So
simplicity is the answer to everything.
Yeah. So, and simplicity is kind of your secret. If I look at everything you've done, it's all simple stuff. You say you use crude tools and old school stuff, but it works because it's the fundamentals. You know what I mean? You do that with everything. I think that's almost like your mantra, I guess. Just from knowing you, I've known you for not that long, but just from everything you do is simple and makes sense.
Yeah, and you know what, I mean, it's not to say that I've never had a breakdown, because shit does happen. Like the transmission is done in my Impala convertible, but it's not often that my stuff's leaving me stuck on the side of the road,
Yeah.
And I mean, this van, knock on wood, has just been incredible. I've been everywhere with this thing. I drive the wheels off it, and nothing really ever happened, anything major.
Pretty cool, man. I'm enjoying the van life right now, the experience of the van life.
For sure. And you know, the thing about,
it's pretty fun.
I got these modern, comfortable seats in here. I added the tilt column.
Yeah.
These seats, the way this thing drives, I could drive this thing all day long.
Yeah.
The one best thing I ever did was put these modern seats. They're out of like, you know, probably a 2005 Denali, like a Yukon or a Suburban or something. And
So-
super comfortable.
That's what I was going to ask you about. So I'm restoring my own car. I got a 72 Nova, and I have the original seats. And it was my intention to save the bucket seats. However, the more I hear about it, a lot of people have been saying it's worth swapping out. If it's a long distance driver, would you recommend swapping out the old seats and putting something more modern in? Or
Well, having said that, the classic Nova,
Yeah.
if it was me, of course, just my opinion,
Yeah.
I'd stick to the stock seats just because it's part of the appeal of the old car, right?
Yeah.
And like the van, it didn't matter because everything's custom, you know what I mean? But
in this case, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
like I couldn't see putting modern seats in my Chevelle or my Impala. I don't think it would just fit the bill.
Right.
But I mean, you know, people do it, and sometimes it works.
Well, what you've done here is an amazing job. You've bringing a car that had almost no purpose other than shop glass, making it something unique, and sharing it with the world, and also sharing your secrets. So thanks for being on the show, and we'll definitely see you again because you'll be back in some form or another. You've been on the show more than anyone else, and it's always a pleasure learning from you.
Absolutely, yeah. No, and I enjoy it. I love it.
Next time on Between the Wheels.
This looks like the Generally on steroids.
Well, this one here I got out of a Dodge dealership in '96. It was going to be a General Lee right from the beginning.
You told me 140,000 miles on it, which is crazy.
Well, at one time it was shiny.
I've never seen a Charger, let alone RT, with a trailer hitch on it.